Hello, everyone. GM,
Yeah,
GM. How's it going? Everyone ready for another? How's it going, Alec? Did you lock in your idea already? Going forward with the ape flip, the coin flip. Sounds like a cool game, right?
yeah, that sounds like a fun and a good place to start and get a hang of actually like the process, the thinking behind it. How do you want to like building? How do you want to launch it? This is a good example.
Wonderful. Yeah, after last week, master session of ideation, go to market. It was awesome live to be there. I learned so much. If you missed the past recording, do watch that one, okay? The last week was just the necessary introduction for you to get started with your idea. And the objective for this week is first to go forward with the prototype. Okay, so some housekeeping rules before we go forward. Let me start sharing my screen. We do have, sorry, my voice is a little weird today, weirder than usual, but going forward with it, we do have all of the videos, all of the sessions here. So if you click on Loma for join this event, you should open the YouTube link for today. Okay, project building guidelines. You do have the video here in the page, and you do have all of the links here. I saw some people getting confused the last time, so make sure to check this Loma page for all of the links. And also, you might have received one email, if your email was correct on Luma, you might have received one email with this blast of the first weekend homework. Okay. If you are not registered in the bootcamp, unfortunately, you wouldn't have access to it. You can still follow the videos, but you need to be enrolled to have access to this form. And here we had a good amount of submissions. I would still make a call out for you to remember to fill this form if you haven't yet. Look, do we allow late submissions? Maybe a couple more minutes, something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as long as you submit the homework, it means you're on track. There's no hard deadlines, but we want you to be with the pace of the program.
Yeah. So make sure if you haven't, if you submitted here or someone from your team submitted, okay, but you haven't yet, I want this response to go to like how many groups are we here? Like 100 groups. So make sure to put your response here so that you can be included for the milestones. We're doing some sort of progressive milestones, right, Alec? So
Yeah.
uh, this is going to be a good way for us to track your progress and also see if you have any possible roadblocks, and I'll get a sense of the ideas that are building because we can also tweak the sessions according to your ideas. Okay, and also we do have a support chat in Telegram. If you want to ping us, ask questions, you can directly reply to those emails in Loom as well. So we do have this both ways communication channel. It's not only me and Alec and everyone give information for you. You can also interact. Okay, there is the live feed here of comments in the YouTube. So this should go both ways. We need you to commit and submit your homework as soon as possible so that we can be on track with it. Okay. What we're going to do today. So if you remember where we stopped on last session, we went all the way through the ideation part, what problem you're solving. And last week we had that amazing masterclass of ideation go to market. And then we finished on this step. My app should be define an offering, a coin flip app like Alec wanted to help ApeChain community to gamble with more fun, something like that. So you would define this idea in a sentence and you would express that idea with a landing page, with a website. That instead of building that website yourself, I was suggesting that we would create a landing page with AI. So up to this weekend, we are expecting for you to have at least a landing page for your idea. Maybe you have validated this idea with some users. So let's do a quick vibe check here. If you have created a landing page, send me here in the chat. I know you submitted homework just to create engagement. Let's see if they come true. And my question would be, did you test this idea, this landing page with someone so far? Maybe your family, your friends, maybe your
But
grandmother, your uncle,
D-
kids,
degen
your
communities.
degen communities, with your investors, or with your enemies. Who did you share your land page with? But maybe this could be a good idea for throw your competition off. You come up with crazy, stupid ideas. You give them these ideas, and then they spend months trying to compete you with something different. Just kidding, just kidding. My question is, did you share your landing page with people already? Published it? Got feedback from it already? So if you did, it might be time for step two. Maybe you should scrap your idea and then start another. Maybe you should go to this conclusion. I wouldn't suggest that path yet. We didn't validate it through all. But it's possible to change your idea throughout the camp, no worries. But next step would be going from idea to from landing page to a prototype, which would be a minimally working prototype for showcasing your proposed solution, right? And how would you do that 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago? How would you, Alok, since you are a developer, you know all your ways around tech? How would you go from idea to prototype like 3, 4, 5 years ago?
So, oh well, okay, that's a whole story, I would say. But essentially, I would come up with like, okay, this is the problem what I'm trying to solve. I would write it down like this is like the feature set that I need just for the first iteration. And I would be like, okay, it needs to have a login page, it needs to have like, user account, all of that. And then just like build it out for the first like 10 users or something. Make like the most basic UX, like maybe that looks like Times New Roman font or something. Forget
Yeah,
about any CSS,
and
web
that
forms.
that would be a formal way of developing, right? You would
Yeah.
write the lines of code, or maybe you would hire a dev company to do that, right?
So
Or if you are non-technical, you could enroll in a program of 6 months to learn how to code. All of those are valid and very possible ways for moving forward. But for this camp, for today, for all of you that are watching and following us, we are going to go through the vibe coding path, okay? Which is a little different than a normal path. In the past, you would develop pieces of it, like Alec was saying, first the onboarding flow, sign up, and then a dashboard, something like that would either follow like a waterfall flow where you build pieces and pieces of it by time, or an agile flow where you build a very limited version of your app, which completes the proposition, and then you keep iterating that on top of the top. Those are the traditional ways of building prototypes and full softwares, software. But now we have the possibility of AI, which is going to feel like that in the image. You're going to start with something quite weird that you quite don't understand yet. Maybe you're not technical or technical, but never developed a smart contract. So it's going to look very weird. You, in this example, you want to build a car, but the first version of it is going to be totally crazy. And then you trim it down a little, remove some things here and there, trim it down a little more, and eventually you have a car. So that's the expectation. What might happen, and I'm sorry, the AIs are not fully ready for building full apps yet. I've told you about that. But what might happen is like this: you want to have a car, and then you're going to have a car with a little weird stuff on it, and then you prompt it again to try and have the car, but then it happens a little more weird stuff around it, and then more and more and more. And as you prompt, weird stuff go happening. This can happen, okay? I'm going to show today a flow for avoiding that. It's not guaranteed, but it's going to reduce the possibilities of AI hallucinating. Um, it's going to organize the development flow in certain ways, okay, so that we use the correct context for the AI. I'm going to explain why the context is important. The context, the correct tools, and the function calling. We even have MCPs that we can plug into. I'm going to explain about that today. And the flow is going to be starting where we left off last Thursday, with v0.app, and going forward to the objective of having some users able to use our prototype enabled with some UI or something like that, for us to collect feedback from directly from the target audience that we want to get to. Okay, your ICP means ideal customer persona. So more than just a landing page, you want to see if someone would go through your app. And based on all of your ideas that you submit in the form, we saw that we do have a lot of Web3 stuff, blockchain, smart contracts, and all. So today I'm going to start introducing that. We are not going to deploy any smart contract, do any fancy things today. This is next week's sessions, okay? But for the prototype part, it should be good enough. Okay, we're going to continue on the Web3 integration next week. It's going to be the whole week just for that. Today is going to be more focused on building the prototype. And on Thursday, we're going to do a session about going to market and validating your prototype, reaching out to ICP and see if they would use your app, if they would pay for it. Okay? If we have questions in the meantime, I guess we don't have any so far, but we're going to go, for example, this idea of using PRD documents for building landing page. Now we're going to build on top of that today. Okay, so let me even start sharing my tab here. So this is the Gorilla Flip app. For some reason, stuck. Let me refresh that again. But I'll start from here, from the v0.app that all of you should have. If you missed it last week, okay, it's about time for you to catch up. Okay, you should have something like that with v0.app or with Bolt or with Replit, with something. You should have your first version, even if you're using your landing page. And I'm going to show how to migrate from that to your environment. Okay. Today is going to be a very slow step-by-step lesson because I want to be inclusive. I want to onboard as many beginners as possible. So even if you don't have your environment set up for today, today's session is for that. So don't panic. Oh, do I need to install this and that and that? Don't worry. We're going to get there. Okay, don't worry. So we're going to start from web-based, v0.app, in my example, and go towards having this set up in your environment in less than 2 hours by integrating the blockchain integration that you're going to use called thirdweb, using your local environment. We're going to go through all of that today. You're not going to have anything built on top of it, but you're going to be ready for you to build your prototype this weekend and dive deeper in the blockchain features next week. Okay. Yes, super basic. So that's the idea. If you want a very quick course in 15 minutes to do all of that, if you are a senior dev, maybe you want to skip through some parts because I'm going to explain very basic things of like setting up node, setting up cursor, and git clone, this kind of basic stuff. So it is designed to onboard newcomers. Okay, vibe coding, that's the whole ethos here, what we're trying to do. Okay, so you might be using it with Visio or whatever web version that you're using now. There are some cool features here. I would suggest you to exhaust the features before moving forward. For example, in Visio, you can keep chatting for like we did last session 7 days ago for keep building, change the color of this to blue, implement a counter, whatever, you can keep chatting. And there are also some other features that you might want to explore. For example, design mode. You can select one of the elements, like this element, and you can change the content of itself. So super gorilla coin flap, you can interact with it in a much easier way than, for example, if you're using cloud code or cursor, windsurf or client. It's not that easy, not that visual. If you are a developer, you know how to do all of those, use the browser, embedded browsers and all. But for a non-tech person, this is great. You can start with your page, change the colors, click here on design, and then select a button, an element, or total flips. There is a counter here. Make this, select this, and make this text bigger. Oops, bigger. What's happening with my keyboard? Bigger. So these features from V0, they are great if you are non-technical, if you don't have any, something is going wrong here. Design, then select this, make this text bigger. This should work. Let me see. Yeah, work. So these features might be great if you are non-technical because it's a web-based application. V0.app, bolt.new, replicate, whatever they would give the environment for you. Instead of you coding, interact with the code directly, which is here hidden from you, you would just point at the page and say what you want to say, and the AI would interact. Yes, it worked. Okay, so this is very easy, quick visual interactions. I wouldn't suggest using V0 for integrating blockchain, for example, for smart contracts, for integrating wallet, and now it might fall short of what you need very quickly. You could start hallucinating, and now we could even try that on the side, but it's not the objective for today's session. I would recommend for you to go with V0 up to where your visuals are working. Maybe you can even try some integrations. There are integrations, for example, for database that you can put here. There are integrations for AI. There are many integrations that you can use inside V0 that we can port to our project. There is a technique for that. I can show it real quick if you want. But this would be making it easier for a non-technical person to get started with the setup. Don't try to do the blockchain integration on V0, on Replit, both. They might not work that well. Okay, that's the idea so far. Yeah, those web tools are very powerful for rapid prototype iteration. Click on something, point, change the color, but now we're going to move past that. Okay. I don't know if I missed any questions. Peter is helping us in the backstage. So any pressing questions, we're going to have it stirred up. If you see any of those as well, Alok, feel free to interrupt me. Okay. So how to come from here to vibe coding in my environment? I want to have the code on my computer. I want to be able to change the files, to add a custom context. I want to use my own environment key. There are many of those requirements that we need to move forward, especially for using the integration that we are going to go with. Let me share this very quickly, but you don't need to stress about it right now. We're going to use one integration of a tool during this bootcamp, more next week. Today is more the introduction, where we need to put some files. For example, this file called llms.txt inside the app. And we need to do some environment configurations and all. All of this is possible. Okay, it is possible to come here, integrations like a show, environment variables, put them all here and do this integration. It is possible. I just never saw it working efficiently. It's more like banging your head against the wall to make it work than actually going through the whole process. Okay. So at this point, I would suggest one very important piece of software, which is Cursor. And the same way that I suggest v0.app because of the user friendliness and the balancing features that they have, I would suggest Cursor as my go-to suggestion alongside Windsurf. Windsurf or Cursor both would be 100% equivalent for me at this point, because it's just one software that you need to install and would unlock all your paths in the future. Okay. If you prefer all the software like Cloud Code or Klein inside VS Code or any other, they would function quite the same. Okay. For today's sessions, I'm going to use Cursor. I also have Windsurf available with some credits if needed. Cursor would use the free plan. I decided to end my subscription. I was just chatting about that with Alex. So they do have some interesting pricing things, I would put it like that. They are not sponsoring also, but they are very cool tools. This is what I'm trying to say without putting myself in a weird situation here. But the thing is, Cursor should do a good job for you, even the free plan. Or if you want to use Windsurf, they should do a good job as well. And they can give you some free credits if you ask me directly. There are other tools that as well we can find replacements for these. So pick one of these, your favorite tool. I'm going to use Cursor for today. If you want to follow along, Cursor is going to be great for you to follow step by step. Okay, good. So any other questions? Let's move forward. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you, Alec, for answering that one. Install Cursor on your local development or windsurf as you would prefer. There is a download page here that you can go. You should sign in and have your actual account with them. I'm going to use my own local development, so I do have it installed on Linux. I'll share my screen and guide through it later. And the idea is that this is going to guide you through all of your necessary developments. Okay, if you download it with Mac, if you're using a Mac or Windows, and all, it should come prepackaged with everything that you. Sorry, it should come prepackaged with everything that you need for your system. Okay, I do have it installed on my side. I'm explaining this slowly so that you have time to install on your side. I'm explaining and installing in the meantime, but the idea is that you should have access to at least one of these. Let me share my whole screen. So I do have it installed here. Let me see how it goes. Yeah. So let me close this folder. So whenever you install Cursor, Windsurf, whatever tool that you prefer, at the end you would have something like that. Let me increase the zoom a little more. This would be your initial page. Okay. If you need a couple more minutes, let me know. I'm going to explain on why we're doing it, what we're doing here, and this should give you enough time to install. Should be 1 minute. If taking more than that, something might be wrong there. Okay. So we are going to come from our Ape, or ApeChain, yeah, or Gorilla Coin Flip project on V0 to Cursor or Windsurf or whatever tool that you go there, you prefer to use there with GitHub. And I'm going to explain that slowly as well. Okay, let me share my screen directly. Okay, is there too much noise? I'm actually picking that well, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, some hectic background, sorry about that. So, next step. At this point, you should have your Cursor installed, or any other tool that you would prefer to go with. And I'm going to use this button here. Okay, you should have this on your v0.app, or if you're using all the providers, all the tools, you should have this tool for connecting to GitHub. Okay, with Bolt, you can do that. With Replit, you can do that. Should be on the top pane, not publish, not share. Share is good. You can share with other people your project as well, but we are going to go to connect to GitHub. Okay, and this is going to allow. This is going to get the code, get all the IP. Let's call it like that. It's going to allow you to extract what you have created with AI from this platform and insert it into this repository in this. Let's call it like a Dropbox or a Google Drive of code called GitHub. You might be very familiar with it already. And I do have a lot of accounts connected here, but I'm going to go forward with my personal account. And I'm going to create a repository name for that, like V0 Gorilla Coin Flip, which is a good one. Okay. If you haven't integrated GitHub here yet, you should just log in, create an account if you don't have, and then you should be able to click this button, cloning a repository. This is a very easy way for you to bring whatever you created in the past week, your landing page, your initial prototype, whatever, inside V0 to your GitHub. And there we are going to use this was the result of the creation. This link, I can even click here and see the files there. So everything was ported from V0 to this project. On my personal account, I can download it at any time and all. So this is going to be where all the changes are going to happen. In the future, I can even bring that back to V0 and go back and forth between tools. Having a GitHub well organized is going to be very helpful for you. You haven't seen those people complaining, oh, AI erased all of my code. I asked it for a change and then it deleted everything. There are some public cases of that. If you're using GitHub to sync your code, you're not going to get affected. At any time, you can roll back. Okay, GitHub has all of these features for you to track the commits and code history, so it's made for that. Okay, just to check, at this point, you should have installed Cursor and cloned your repository to GitHub. Okay, I hope it's not that fast. Let me see the questions here. Okay. Yeah. Any pressing issues, feel free to interrupt. So at this point, you should have Cursor installed. You should have your GitHub project merged to GitHub. Okay. And I'm going to click on this green button for code and copy this link. This is going to be the URL of the GitHub repository. Okay. Probably is going to be private. If you created with those steps, you would need to authenticate for the next steps. If you want to make it easier, you can even create your project as a public project. There is a settings for that. If you want to publish your code, you go for your repository and go all the way down here in the changes and change the visibility to public so that your friends or your teammates can access the project as well. We can share with other people. Okay, it's not super needed, but it's going to make your life easier if you want to share it. So my situation, I want to make it public for everyone to use it, make this repository public. Oh, I need, okay, a lot of security involved. Let me see if I can solve that. Okay, approve it. It's not super needed, but now I have a public repository, which can be nice for sharing this repository with other people. Okay, this is going to be the link. I can even share this with all of you now. You would have access to this repository. Okay, this by itself is already an accomplishment. Okay, this could be like a hackathon project, and now you have the repository to submitting for your judges. And yes, thank you for the approval. Oh, yes, 2FA is nice. Sometimes create a lot of hassle, but it can work. So, are you good with these steps so far? Getting your GitHub, copying this link, green button. Now the magic is going to happen. We're going to port over from this code that we created. Where is it? This code that we created on v0.app, and we're going to start using it on my local environment. Okay, with Cursor. Let's see if I'm sharing my screen correctly. Yes, it seems I am. With Cursor, I'm going to use this feature. When you just open Cursor, first screen, you might not have this recent project. So first thing you do, clone repository, and then you paste the link here. Okay. It should prompt you to connect to your GitHub when you do that from the first time. If you just click here, clone repository, and then you click on clone from GitHub, it should prompt you to connect to GitHub. Here is going to bring all of my projects, but for you, it might need you to sync it first. I do have it, a V0 Gorilla CoinFlip repository here. I could click. It's going to be the same thing as pasting the link. And now, let me go back one step. After I click, it's going to ask me where to put the project. Please, for all the bananas that apes are eating right now in the whole world, pay attention where you put your project. We're going to change some files there. So this could be in your download folder. your documents folder on your desktop, could be, external drive, could be in Vitalik's house. I don't care where you put it. Just make sure you remember where you put it because we're going to change some files there. So I'm going to paste the link. I'm going to clone from this URL. It's going to be the same thing as my link, and I'm going to navigate to a place where I remember. I'm going to go for my documents. Actually, it's going to be my home folder, projects, and I have one for ApeChain. Okay, it's very small, but imagine that this is going to be your file explorer. I do have one test here that I did, so I'm going to select this folder and select this as the repository destination. This is going to be sitting in my computer, and I know that anytime I need to change a file, I'm going to go for my user, projects, ApeChain in this repository. Okay. Once you do that, and you click on open, you should have it ready for you to play along. You would be surprised by how many people get lost at this step. Sometimes a lot, way too many. So having a repository in your machine ready to use like that is already a big achievement. Second big achievement for today. We have a code ported from V0 to GitHub, and now we have it cloned locally in my machine. Here you might have some questions. How to connect my GitHub, how to click in this button, how to save the folder. No, if you go back to this video slowly and pay attention to each of those steps, you should be able to cross this and get there, okay? Oh, and good questions coming up here. Are there vibe tools and more advanced tools like Cursor that play nice in the same repo? Yeah, we're going to introduce these today with Cursor and thirdweb. You are going to have the best scoop of these, okay? Do you have any starred questions? I guess no, right? Any questions, Alok, that you want to bring up in the meantime?
No. There was like a topic around secret keys and local env file, but I think we'll cover it soon.
Yes, we will. Today as an introduction, and next week more down to that. Okay. Yeah. So at this point, if you're lost right now between the migration of V0 to Cursor and GitHub, don't worry, it's normal. Okay, it's normal. At this point, when I'm in person with people, a lot of people raise their hand and we do a small break because it is tricky. It's not like chatting with an AI. Whenever we're doing things with V0, just chat, we just vibe. Whenever you need to do things on your computer, you need to install and click the correct buttons in the correct places. It can get tricky, especially now that we're going to install some dependencies. Okay, so pay a lot of attention. Okay, it's normal. So at this point, I do have some background noise there. I'm sorry about that. Let me shut closer to the mic. Let me actually give me 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, so there are certain terms that you need to keep in mind where, I mean, you don't want to commit your node modules because then as you have like half a giga of files, you don't want to commit, of course, your environment files, things like that. So those obvious files you don't want to commit, but we're going to cover that soon.
Yeah, sorry about that. Getting back here. The background noise was controlled for now. Okay. So next step, after you have your project here, let me know if things are feasible because I should increase my zoom. This is the default visualization for Cursor. You should have agent tab in the right, okay? If you AI pane on the right where you have your coding agents and all, different from V0 where you have in the left. This is where you're going to chat with the AI. And in the left pane, you have access to all of your files, okay? All of these files, lines of code that are here were created by V0. So it was AI generated. It's just that we did not touch it yet. Now we're going to start interacting more with it, okay? We might need to install some things on our computer before getting started with this project. And here's where AI can get interesting. These AI agents that we have in this AI pane, they can do changes on your computer. For example, I can ask the AI agent, do I have Node installed? And then you might ask, what is Node? Node is one of these tools that we're going to use for today. If you want the whole explanation, I can explain later. You can Google it. It's a guide for running the code that we are going to need, okay? Because of the tools that we're going to use. So it's one of the requirements for today. You should not, as a vibe coder, you should not worry too much with the workings of Node, how it works on your computer, how it's installed, how it's going to handle. I do have long boot camps for that. But for today, we're just going to vibe a little with the AI on our own environment. And the AI is going to compose the command for running these things on your computer, okay? Pay attention here. The AIs are not trustable, okay? Not because the AI is going to like Terminator style hunt us. It's not because the AI is managed by other humans, and not other humans need to be trusted. At some point, you would like to review all of these commands because now AI is going to run things on your computer. It could steal your crypto, it could steal your sensitive data, like all of those ape pictures eating banana. Now you don't want this to leak, right? So at this point, you should consider reviewing or having some technical background to review what the AI is suggesting to do on your computer. Maybe even use another computer where you don't have crypto there, or where you don't have sensitive information, a virtual machine in the cloud or in your computer, okay? Because running commands, AI generated commands in your computer can be dangerous. If you do have money on your computer, like an M file or something like that, in the computer that you're using right now, the device that you're using right now, be very careful, take extra caution at this point, because some of these commands might be unsafe. 99% chance they are safe, but I don't know what the AI is going to suggest there for you, okay? Here it's suggesting for getting the Node version to check if I do have Node installed or no. If I run this, it's going to say, oh yes, you do have Node installed, and all your crypto were stolen. Okay, just kidding, but this is a sad story that sometimes happen. So be extra mindful when running those comments. Okay, I wouldn't recommend approving all comments blindly. Okay, do check what the AI is suggesting. And here I have this check. Yes, Node is installed. Okay. If you also need npm or npm version check it, say the word. Yes, I can say yes, check if everything is there. So this is going to be your flow from here to the end of this camp. You vibing with the AI, but now in your computer, now in your environment. Because now the AI can check for your versions of your dependencies, for the folder structure that you're using, for the tools that you have installed and all. And this is also a big source of confusion in my bootcamps. And now the AI can solve that for you. If you trust enough the AI, if you work well enough with it, the AI can solve your environment configuration for you. Okay. And also, the AI can even be your teacher now. You can ask AI, what is Node? Why do you need NPM? Why this repository is using NPM? And now, you can ask questions for this AI agent. The AI is going to have context about what you are doing, what we're doing. Probably is going to even have context about your idea, since you have it there in the landing page. And the AI can guide you through the implementation, through the techniques that you have now. Okay. So in this question that I did, the AI is checking if everything is there, and it's finding the versions for everything. If you don't have these installed on your machine now, if you are a newcomer, if you are a non-technical person, the AI can guide you through installing all of these, installing Node, installing npm, installing Python, installing whatever requirements that you need on your computer, maybe even other tools after you have npm, because the AI now can use the LLM for composing these steps and can also run the commands on your machine. Okay, so it's testing for all of those things. Okay, I don't need to go through the whole thing. I do have it installed on my computer, but for you, you should have at least Node installed for today. Okay, at this first step, I might say, oh, Node is not installed, and then you ask to install. Okay, I'm going to stop this step by clicking the stop button. I don't need to go over it, but it can give you an extra minute or two, at least for you to install Node. At some point, you might need to close cursor and open it again, or restart your computer, or something like that for it to be available. But eventually, you should have Node available there. Okay.
In the meantime, can you go over the last two questions?
Let me see. Okay, regarding the risk, there are any ways to set boundaries for the AI so the ID will warn if you're asking it to do something that could compromise sensitive information on the machine. So yes, you can program those rules, but the whole danger here is trusting AI, uh, trusting LLM generated common. There are some AIs that are safer for that, but the LLMs that are language models, using LLMs for generating comments for you, because there's an attack vector called poisoning. Someone could poison the context of your cursor, of your agent, of your coding agent, MCP servers. There are a lot of surface there, attack surface there for people to poison the prompt, even from cursor itself, many different sources, from a package, from a dependency. And even if you do those guardrails, still people could bypass. So first recommendation that I would give is, instead of guarding the AI, trying to protect it from not reaching your environment, use a different development environment. Okay, keep your crypto safe in your phone, in your ledger, whatever you prefer to use, or another computer or a virtual machine somewhere, and use your development environment freely without any .env keys there, and also so that even in the worst case scenario, you can still have your IDE protected. Okay, I wouldn't trust any guardrails or anything. Don't touch my .env file, and then the AI goes there and open the .env file. So I wouldn't trust this kind of guardrails.
We can talk about, recently there was a hack with the npm package that affected Web3, like mostly like Web3 wallet, I think, providers, where it's like it's one of the most popular used libraries, and if you were to install it, it would result in your wallets getting drained.
Yeah, this is the called supply chain attack. So this is another reason for us to use a separate development environment, right? Don't put your crypto in the same place where you are developing, because supply chain attacks are very rare to happen. You need to move the whole industry for it to happen, but still they happen, like we had last week, like a couple of weeks. So even if you do all correctly, your aim files correctly, your setup is correct, your tools are correct, you have guardrails, and all, someone could still inject something on your computer using a supply chain attack. So this is why I suggest don't use a development computer with your crypto there. If your .env is there, or your MetaMask with money, for example, I do have MetaMask here, but it's a separate account. I don't have any mainnet money in this account where I'm using this MetaMask. You can check this thing here. So I do have some networks connected. I do have some accounts connected, but if I go for mainnet, let me pick the I should have it. Testnet should have popular Ethereum mainnet or Ape mainnet, and now it's not going to show any balance. Okay, and we'll add ApeChain here in a while. So this is the recommended setup. Don't try to be brave and super cybersecurity master. Oh, I'm protected from supply chain attacks now. No, use another development environment. If you have a wallet on your computer, make sure that it's empty. Okay, this is my master trick for never getting robbed. I'm poor. I don't have anything for people to steal. Okay, just kidding. I'm actually poor. But if you have a lot of money there, don't use that for development unless you know very well what you're doing. Okay, that would be the idea. Good point. So at this point, you should have your node installed. If you're not too afraid of running these commands, you should have node installed on your computer. You should just check if it came from a normal distribution like node for Linux, something like that. And you should have it from the official repository, from node itself, and then you would download this from Linux. Okay, so that's the usual path for things to go forward. Okay, how to check if this is working? So you are going to ask for the AI. If you know how to use the terminal, you would open the terminal and type the command here. Normally, if you are a developer, you know how to use like npm. You're going to do npm run, something like that. But if you are not a developer, I would suggest you to use the AIs on your advantage, on your favor. I would suggest clicking this button to start a new chat. Okay. In the new versions of Cursor, they even have this agent window. It's a better feature that you need to toggle, where you can have a lot of agents working in parallel for you. This is super cool, but I wouldn't use that today. It's too experimental. But imagine that you can start a new chat at any time that you want to do something different, or using that agent window to control all of them. And then you have those past chats here if you want to get to them. Okay, let me just mute you, Alec. Whenever you want, you can unmute yourself. So at this point, I would suggest you to start a new chat and ask, run this project. And I know that this is going to use npm to install all the dependencies and then to run the correct command. Okay, the AI is going to do this. It's going to start planning next moves, and you would be surprised by how many times it's going to do some stupid things here. Oh, let's run this project. Oh yes, let's put some running shoes. So what? No, run this project, like execute this project. AI, I would expect you to know that. So when you are interacting with AI, weird things can happen. Okay, here it's going to run this command. It's going to enter the folder. I'm already in that folder, but okay, it's going to enter in that folder again, and it's going to run this command for install here. Okay, sounds okay, overcomplicated, but okay. Under the hood, this AI agent is using some models. Okay, what model is being used here? So I can pick the model that I'm using, and the generation is only going to be as good as the model that I'm using. So here it's using Gemini or something like that. Done installing. Then I'm going to run this other command. If you are technical, of course, you can run those directly. But here, since we are just vibe coding, we are asking this AI agent to execute the whole code for us. So the AI is figuring out what needs to be installed, what should be used, and is figuring out what are the commands. Okay, so it's install this. It's running. It's going to check if the dev server is responding on the port 3000. Good. It's testing if it's working. That's a good feature. There is no guarantee that asking the same questions you're going to get the same results as I'm having. Sorry, it's not deterministic. Your AI here might start doing some weird stuff out there, but eventually it might come down to the server running on the port 3000. Okay, so the server is running in this port. It started with this. Okay, and then you can also ask the AI. There is a possibility in this dropdown for you to ask, like, what the fair stuff is going on. So you can ask the AI for more context if you want. Yeah, I can be your extended teacher. You can also ask the teacher if you prefer, but the AI can guide you through on what is happening. Okay, right now we have our project running in our own machine. This local host cannot be accessed by other people. You are going to navigate to the port 3000. You have a lot of possible ports in your computer that you can use for different things at the same time. We're going to be hosting it locally, so you can just copy this link. Control C, Command C on your computer, or just click here and go for copy. You should be able to access it on a browser now. It should look exactly like the V0 interface, but now in your machine. Flip the coin, you got tails. Flip the coin again, you got heads. So the same thing that can happen in V0, now it's happening in my own computer. Took me 40 or 50 instead of 40, okay? But now we finalize the port from V0 to your own computer, from v0.app to localhost in 40-50 minutes, as we have scheduled for today. Okay? All good so far? Let me see if I went too fast, but at some point you should just ask the AI, run this project. If it doesn't go too crazy, at the end you should have your project running in your local host. Okay. Okay. Are we good? Don't see any questions in the chat. If anyone is lost at this point, okay, let me know. If you are watching this video in the future, you probably want to message us or ask the AI to unblock yourself. But at this point, we can accommodate some live questions. Okay. From now on, we're going to start prototyping. So far, installing Node, Cursor, Node with Cursor, and all. We were doing the environment setup. Now we're going to start prototyping, or the app, the actual structure that's going to enable us to mint tokens, do transactions, read blockchain data, and all. With this setup, different from v0.app, with this setup in local, we control everything. We have access to the code. It's probably in your GitHub right now. We have access to the environment. It's probably here on Cursor already. If you have some integrations on V0, you can port them using Versal to Cursor. If you need it, I can show some things. But at this point, we're going to scratch everything that we had online. Okay, and we're going to start using locally or local environment for integrating thirdweb. And I'm going to guide you through this integration. Okay. Why thirdweb? There are many tools out there for using. Yes, but thirdweb is going to guide us like cutting through butter with a hot knife, how to install this with LLMs very quickly. Okay. And if you want to get started at this point, you're going to go for the documentations portal.thirdweb.com. You paste this in the chat. Oops. Okay, portal.thirdweb.com. And here you're going to find all of the necessary documentation. Different from other tools that you need to integrate yourself, here we're going to have an AI integration. You can go for this docs and you click on this box, llms.txt. This is going to be an AI integration that is going to give you context over everything that you need the AI to implement. Okay. If I ask an AI any information about blockchain, let me, you don't need to do that on your side. Let me just show something for you very quickly. I'm going to ask a question. For example, what is the current price of, maybe it's something like that. What's the latest block in the ApeChain network? Block number. So if I ask any information of that directly for the AI, inherently the LLM doesn't know how to answer for LLM for real time data. Okay, and the AI knows about that. So the plan is to use a web search command to go to the ApeChain RCP or something like that to complete this call, So there is no inherent way for you to go there and ping the blockchain data directly or any online data. You would need to use some tools for that. And some of these models are very well trained for tool calling, but the accuracy for calling the correct tool with the correct context. Even in the best models, it still tops 80 something percent, maximum 90, even less than that. So which means that at least one time out of 10, the AI is going to commit mistakes on calling the obvious tool that needs to be called, but it doesn't call it. So in this situation, it worked. It went there to ApeScan. Let me open this link. Went here, got the last block as 23,892,449. So 20, yeah, it even got it wrong. So the last block is 24, maybe, yeah. I don't think, yeah, it probably got it wrong. You see? I don't think we went that fast. So 24, yeah, maybe it took a while here, but you got the point, right? You should not trust AI blindly for doing things, especially with blockchain. It might not know about the latest developments of things. It might not know about the correct implementation, the correct smart contract addresses, and all of that. So going alone, the freestyle way of vibe coding might be dangerous. So this is why I'm suggesting first you go forward with thirdweb. I'm going to open a new chat for that. I'm going to suggest first you go forward with thirdweb because they have this little file called llms.txt that can give you all of the context needed for preventing the AI for hallucinating, for coming up with new facts out of the blue, for mistaking the tools that need to be called, for getting lost in the middle of the implementation. And they have those three files. One that would be the API reference, just for you to integrate like lightweight web-based stuff. It's not going to do much on your computer, but you're going to be able to use that. We have a deeper TypeScript, the whole TypeScript SDK reference, which is going to be nice for a project because we are using TypeScript, which is more lightweight. And we have the full SDK documentation with everything regarding to the docs. Okay, this one is quite big, so whenever we are prompting the AI, we do have a limitation of how much context. If I start typing here, I would see a counter of how much context I can add. For example, let me add a doc from whatever, Amazon EC2. So like, what is this? And then when I ask this question, it's going to start consuming context. Everything that I index here is going to consume context. For example, here we used 4.1% of the context available. So it's not always a good idea to pick the largest file straight out. Okay, some other providers and all are going to give bigger files and smaller files. We're going to go with this middle one, the TypeScript SDK quick reference. This should be good for us. Okay. thirdweb is going to be the full tooling that's going to enable us to connect with the blockchain functionalities, develop smart contracts and all. I'm going to save most of it for next week. We're going to have a full session about that. For today, I just want you to have the environment correct, and you have the starting piece, the skeleton, let's call it like that, the skeleton of your prototype for you to use next week. Okay, we are going to go forward next week with MCP server as well. That's going to need your configuration, your API key inside the thirdweb portal, and Alok is bringing you some good referral links for that for you to have access to the portal. But for today, I'm going to implement it with just llms.txt. It should go well. Okay. So these questions are good, like how to navigate with Cursor, how to add models and all. There are a lot of good materials about Cursor out there. I can pick a question or two eventually, but if you are a newcomer to Cursor, I would suggest exploring it around. The features that we have been using so far, it is cloning a repository. I'm not going to close here, but remember we had that button to clone the repository. And then here using the agent, that should be enough for today. I demonstrated a terminal, but we are not going to need it directly. Just the agents should go well. If you have your app running on your local host, you're good to go. Okay. So third web, for example, let's add a login screen that lets the user enter the email and confirm a verification code, and then display their email and wallet address in the header. If I ask that directly, the AI might get confused. Let me ask, how would you implement this? You don't need to do that, just a demonstration. Asking the AI, click on the ask mode, then ask. The AI is going to plan the next moves and all, and it's probably not going to do a good job. In the older models, they were still recommending using like Truffle, which is a very, very old deprecated library for tooling, let's call it like that, for creating smart contracts and all. There are some more modern toolings that would make our life way, way easier for that. And let me see what the AI is going to suggest. The AI is reading or a project, which is cool, but then it's going to suggest creating a form, wallet address. So what it's planning for wallet address? Let me check that. Thought for 27 seconds. That's a good thought process. So a small button prompt. Okay, look at that. So instead of connecting to the wallet, the AI would plan to ask the user, what's your wallet? And then I'm going to say, my wallet is vitalik.eth. So there is no wallet connection here. So this is a very dumb implementation, as expected from an AI. Let me stop this right here. Okay. Any question, Alok?
No, so far so good.
Yeah, I heard your mic there. No worries. So I wouldn't suggest us to straight out freestyle prompt the AI. I would suggest adding this file. You are going to download this llm.txt. Remember, I asked you to remember where your project is. So I'm going to click with the right button, save link as, and then I can put it in my desktop or in the folder that I have just created for this project. As a trick, if you don't remember where you put your project, you can also open the link, copy everything, Command A, Control A, and then Control C for copying or Command C, and then you paste it inside the file called llms.txt. Let me even clear this. I'm going to close this chat, start a new one. Okay, one totally separate. So I could create a new file here and start building with it. Okay, the easiest way to do that is right-click, save as. You copy here, save this link as a file called llms.txt or something like that. You go for where you created your project. So I do have a projects folder here somewhere. I do have like an ApeChain folder, this Gorilla coin flip, and then I'm going to save it here. Okay, downloaded the file. It should be there on cursor. See, it's here. This llms.txt, everything that I need for the LLM. And now, pay attention. If I ask the AI again, or if I ask with the chat question, or even with the agent, and if I provide this file as a context, the AI will be aware of this information about third web, even without having direct access inside the training. Like the AI probably wasn't trained with this updated version of third web, or maybe it was, but it wouldn't recall that information that well. So even without us directly prompting training the AI for third web, for blockchain implementation, for smart contracts and all, just by using this file, I'm going to add this at the context by clicking this button. Just by using this file as the context, it's going to reduce hallucination a lot. Okay. A shortcut for that is just write the @ symbol and then start typing the name LLMS. It's going to pop up like this, and then drop down. You pick this. It's going to use this as a context. Okay, the LLMS file is now injected in the context of the AI. And now I'm going to ask, how would you implement this? Add a login screen that lets the user enter the email and confirm a verification on the wallet or something like that. Now it's going to use thirdweb. It's probably going to suggest using thirdweb instead of a form for inputting the address. It's still going to plan a page there, but it's going to look, it's reading package, it's planning the next move. Let me see if you thought about this. Oh, here, I'll need to use the thirdweb v5 React package and add the thirdweb providing the root. Brilliant. It took 20 seconds, 27 seconds in the past iteration for the AI to hallucinate and compose something dirty. Now in 5 seconds, the AI could figure out what needs to be done precisely using thirdweb v5 React package for doing this feature. Okay. So go back for your homework project. All of the ideas that you had for your project that you put there in the form, now you can have your AI tutor, your AI consultant, or guide to use the correct tools, in this case thirdweb, to implement those AI functionalities for you. Those AI functionalities, no, I mean those Web3 functionalities using AI coding agents like this one from Cursor. Okay, this is just an exact example. I'm going to stop here and start from the beginning for us to code along. Okay. So that's the idea of using thirdweb with this LLMS.txt. It's going to increase the precision of the AI. It took me 10 minutes or so to demonstrate, but we did one run asking the AI agent without the context, and now with the context, you saw the difference, right? Okay. I see some questions here in the top. So should I replace Rainbow with thirdweb? Is Glip going to be compatible and all? So we're going to cover more of these details next week. But for now, I'm going to guide you how to set up the environment, build the skeleton, and then we fill up from there. Okay. Alok, any context more here for this question?
Yeah, so definitely. So just like I was going over the documentation quickly. Yes, so how often do thirdweb update first files? So in most cases, the llms.txt actually gets updated when you actually update your documentation. It actually reads from your MD files. So when you were to update something, like the txt file would also be updated. There was actually a question around using glyph being compatible. So glyph actually uses privy underneath, but essentially if you're using glyph, you can change the provider and you can use whatever. You can use privy, dynamic, thirdweb, and that's why I was like just going over the documentation so you guys can like take a look. I'll just paste these here. And this is on both glyph documentation as well as ApeChain documentation. So feel free to give it a try. But yes, essentially you can change your provider and you can use whatever wallet provider you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and adding 2 cents for that question of the updates. Here we're using the LLMS, which is static, yes, but they also have an MCP server for you to get the information directly from your hub for you to do like new wallets and all. But also you can use it inside the development IDs like Windsurf, Cursor. You can install it with just one click, this button, or you can go here to the whole documentation. And I'm going to suggest maybe next week or in the last week at some of the techniques here, because let me just mute you again, Alec. Let me see if I can fix this. You have a lot of background. I should close this as well. So what I was saying about this, about updating. So we have the MCP server, and also maybe next week on the last week, I'm going to speak about the MCP servers that you can configure. We should go for the extensions. Oh, I should have this here as well. The MCP servers. And I do suggest this one called Context 7, which would pick the latest versions of all of the tools. I don't use many MCP servers, as you can see, maybe and we install like a database connection sometimes, or Postgres, or doing web search, or Puppeteer for doing calls in the website, but sometimes they get a little crazy and hallucinating. Context 7 is one of my favorites because it solves exactly that. Okay, you might have been vibe coding with some other tools that they do get crazy when there are different version of what happened. Oh, let me close this. Versions of uh, Tailwind different from the version that you're using in your project, and everything breaks. I've been there. I've been there a lot of times. This is a great question, Croc. So having the correct MCP server for that with thirdweb, this one context 7, and now they can help a lot of navigating for those troubles. Okay, we can expand on that in the future. Okay, V0, which React version? This project, well, just created with V0, is using, let me check, version 18 for some reason. Okay, can always check that in the package.json. So going back to the normal flow of the session, you might have used this time to hydrate yourself or something like that. You should have thirdweb integrated. You might not know what thirdweb is yet, but you should have it integrated there with the llms.txt, and then you can start asking some questions like that. Add a login screen that lets user enter the email and confirm a verification code, and then display the email and wallet address in the header or something like that. This is a good idea for the prompt. Okay, I can now pick my agent. I'm going to add the context of the llm.txt, and I'm going to ask the same question as I have in the documentation. And throughout the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to get a step by step that we're going to follow through to configure thirdweb and to have those changes reflecting in our website. Right now we have it here with localhost, just this. We don't have the header and all. I'm going to ask the AI to create. At this point, you should consider yourself for your project. What is the next feature that you need to prototype? In this weekend project, you're going to have a prototype to test with some users for you to go to market with it. So, do you want a login screen? Do you want a leaderboard? Do you want a DEX connection? Do you want something? Think on a feature that you want for your app, and then write this feature here in English, as you would explain for your developer. Imagine you hired an offshore development team that you want to take care of this project for you. Okay? Explain it as well as you can using prompt engineering, using role assignments, using context management, like this file that we are putting. There are many techniques that you can apply here, and this would start your vibe coding journey. Okay, this is just one example. Add a login screen that lets user enter the email and confirm a verification code, and then display their email and wallet address in the header. So after 10 minutes or so, we should have this header added here to the website on top of this title, if the AI goes well, and we should have integration with thirdweb to connect my wallet and to allow for email input and verification code for this to work. Okay. It's very important that you add this context, llms.txt, that we got from the thirdweb website. Otherwise, the AI would just hallucinate a lot of things here. It's going to be used as context here. And the AI now is thinking and doing all of the process. It's going to read the files, the package.json, the layout, the page, the file that V0 implemented. It is probably going to suggest us to integrate thirdweb. It's going to install it in the dependencies. It's going to ask us to configure the environment. AI should guide us here. If the prompt goes well, AI should be able to guide us in this step by step. Okay. So first thing, it's adding a file for handling the login page with email plus code. And then this is going to be using the header. Okay, sounds like a good plan, right? Check with all of you here. Yeah, the terminal, yeah, that can be a little scary. People sometimes use code on terminal. Actually, Cursor just released their CLI, command line interface, that you could also generate the code from terminal. I would still prefer the UI for newcomers, making the changes, guiding them, approving one by one. But it's possible to go from there, to do everything from the terminal now.
Yeah, it was recent, like 1 month ago, I think.
Yeah, like Cursor and CLI actually. I received an email about that like yesterday. Yeah, when was it released? It should be in the blog. Yes, 7th of August. Yeah, was a month ago.
It didn't make it to the newsletter in time, seems like.
Okay. So we have here, let's see how far it went. It created a task list, which is called last year when we started using Cursor and all, we didn't have those nice features. Now we have this task list that I can keep track of what is done, what's not. So I added this file component, auth context.txt, header, page, and then updated this and that. How to use? You should navigate to the login to enter an email, and then input show the demo code to verify. After verification, the header will show your email. And now, let me see. I should do some environment configuration, right? So here we have the first problem. AI created some slop, which is great because then I should show you how to fix that. Don't try to fix AI slop by asking AI to fix it on stuff. The probability of AI fixing it on mess is lower than you getting it correct on the first time. One-shotting AI is way better. What should I do at this point? How to revert the files? First of all, you can click on this undo. You can undo all the changes. Okay. And also, if you are using version control, you can even use it through the UI in this little button here. You can always revert back the changes. Okay, you should be here on the file, and then you click on this version control. If you don't have it, just expand it a little, it should show there the version control. And then you can see the changes. You can even discard the changes. If you want to keep the changes, I'm going to show how to commit later, but at some point you should be able to discard that. And I just tested this prompt like yesterday, and it worked. Now it's not working anymore for some reason. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to open a new chat. I can even copy this. Don't need to start a new chat, but I will just make sure. Okay. I'm going to ask again. Add a login screen that lets user enter the email and confirm a verification code, then display the email and wallet address in the header. Okay. Maybe I should help the AI a little more. Maybe wasn't that clear. So let me add another line to ask. Integrate thirdweb in this project. Install the dependencies and use the SDK for managing the wallet connection. This is called explaining. I would call prompt engineering, but maybe explaining is even better because it's not designing or engineering prompts, it's just explaining the AI. I wanted to integrate thirdweb in this project. I wanted to install the dependencies and use the SDK for managing the wallet connection. And then you might ask, hey, what if I'm non-technical? What if I don't know that I need to integrate thirdweb in this project? What if I don't know that I should install the dependencies and that I need to use the standard development kit for that? So this is where vibe coding should pair with an official camp like this, like official training like this, because as you can see, AIs are not 100% ready to replace all of the development part. Okay, you can still pair AI development with technical guidance, mentorship, or having a technical co-founder and all. But anything past creating prototypes or landing pages can be tricky for the AI. With the correct techniques, we're going to get there, but it's not going to be one shot. It's not going to be going directly from there. And this is where a lot of people start criticizing vibe coding. Oh, it doesn't work. The AI doesn't understand. Yes, I cannot counter these critics. If you expect the AI to get it 100% correct from the first time, it's not going to work. And if you expect humans to get it correctly from the first time, you're probably going to have some frustration as well. Sometimes you gotta ask even experienced developers, you gotta ask them 2-3 times just make sure they have the correct idea, and then they would do what we're expecting. Okay, so it's more about managing expectations. At this point, we're going to do a lot of back and forth with that. So add some line of explanation, something like this, integrate thirdweb to this project, install the dependency, something like that, and now it should work. I would say 95% of it working. I cannot guarantee, but it should work now. Okay. AI code is a love-hate relationship. Yeah. Someone should make a music about that. So it involves a little back and forth of identifying when the AI, I'm avoiding to do a F-bomb here, mess it up, and when the AI is going the correct direction, we need some technical oversee for that to happen. I know, but I'm here to help. I'm your teacher. Maybe in 5 years from now, I don't need to teach anyone anymore because AI will handle everything, and then we just enjoy endless vacations. But for now, we still need to go through it step by step, explaining the AI. So the first step is to install the thirdweb SDK dependencies. Yay, correct. Now the AI got it correctly. And to add the dependencies, it's just that. So yeah, I got it correctly. I'm going to run it, and it's going to install the dependencies for this project. You could also start from a boilerplate, a project with all of the templates, with everything installed. Here is using a thirdweb with ethers. Okay. Let's say you want to do the implementation yourself using hard hat, using Foundry, using VM and all. There are those docs. You go for the documentation. You go for TypeScript, I guess. We have that. I was just in this page a while ago. So you go for the implementation. The API reference would be the SDK, I guess. Let me see if I can find that quickly. We should just go back for the docs. Oh, SDK, here it is. So the TypeScript, you would go, there is getting started with it. Okay, need to approve this comment, go back there. So that is getting started with it for you to install everything. Let me see if I find it real quick. I literally was that a while ago. It was a doc where they had to get started for hard hat. Maybe I should Google for that. So it's thirdweb getting started with hard hat, something like that. It was not a blog. It was not a template as well. Well, I couldn't find that. Sorry about that. So it was something similar to this, where we had the getting started for the hard hat, okay, and the instructions. Coming back to what I was saying a minute ago, the instructions would be something like this: install the dependencies, install hard hat. You need to have node and all, and it would install everything with the correct versions. Cursor is now going with this direction here on my machine. That is installing this with Ethers version 5, which is okay. I can go with it. And then run this other one for adding the thirdweb dependency itself. Okay, let me sort out my tabs here again. Close this one. This one should be working with this. Okay. You can tell Cursor that you want Tailwind. You can work Tailwind instead of ShadCN and all. Okay, again, let's assume 95% of success rate when you ask an AI for a chance of it to do exactly what you ask. Sometimes less, depending on what you are asking, how much context you are giving. So now the AI is installing the thirdweb SDK dependency that skipped last time for some reason. At some point, it's going to ask us to do the variable at the end. I'm going to show how to do that. And if we have time by the end, I'm going to show how to wire up ApeChain here. And that should be pretty much enough for today. After that, you would start coding your features yourself with prompt engineering now. So now it's finally installed. We have the thirdweb SDK dependency. By itself, it doesn't change anything in the app. The app is still working normally. I can keep using it on my local host, but now it's going to enable the AI to implement this stuff. So it's going to read the context in the LLMS. It's going to read at some file here. It's going to discover that for integrating the wallet, you need to go for this link, you need to do this and that and that. So at some point of this file, at this 1,300 lines of code file, at some point here is going to be guiding the AI what to do. And I hope that the AI follows the instructions for adding the thirdweb provider to the app layout. Okay, so it is thinking. The model that I'm using is not the quickest one, the fastest one, but it's going. We should let it cook for a while. And if we need to control the changes individually, we can come here to the code, to the Git flow, and I can see the files, what have been changed, what was changed in the package log that controls the dependencies, what was changed in the package.json. So it added thirdweb. Okay, that is correct. It's going the correct direction. What changes in the layout? Oh, in the layout, now we imported thirdweb here. So you see the changes are going the correct direction. I can see all of those changes here in the version control tab. This is why I recommend using Git, using version control. It can help you guide what the AI is doing, especially if you're doing command line instead of UI like we are using here on Coursera. Okay. I know that we have a lot of fans there for using Cloud Code directly or Gemini Code directly. So Git flow having version control is going to be your friend. Question about setting up roles for Coursera. So there are a lot of video tutorials for that. Putting the correct context, giving the correct roles for each agent, what each agent should do, doing code reviews and all. For this moment in the bootcamp, while we're doing the prototype, this is kind of a overkill for now. We just need to get a prototype out there with some of the features, but definitely in the future, you should use those. And there are several videos about that. I don't know if inside this camp, we're going to have time to expand on the cursor roles and all of those setups, but I have recorded about that in the past. You're going to find a lot of tutorials about that, a lot of content, and it's a good idea for later on when you want to build on top of that. Just bear in mind that setting up the correct rules and figuring out what roles are going to work or not, evaluating the performance is a work by itself. No, you need to work on that for hours. So consider if you want to spend time on that right now, or if you want to vibe a little more before investing time in this direction. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't pay off. Okay. I mentioned about that when doing like prompt engineering, when asking the AI correctly. So all of that would come in place. Okay. So you finish it. Added the thirdweb login screen, a header with the email and wallet, the envar. So what I did, the AI is using I here. That's interesting. So install thirdweb, added the pages, documented the environment. So the AIs cannot touch the environment directly. They are told not to. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they can hack the way through it. But ideally, the AI would not have access to the environment directly. So for doing the setup for us, if we go for the app itself, we're going to see that we have this problem. Client ID or secret key must be provided, which is missing. So this error is correct. So it has successfully errored. because we're missing this environment variable. And here's going to get quite technical, okay? Good for us, the AI has created an explanation. Let me detach this. Detach. I want to detach. Turning window. Okay. So this is the explanation that the AI created. Now we should do the third web setup. If your AI did not create this setup, try to follow along here. Try to follow these steps, because we need to go now for the third web dashboard and copy a client ID and put that inside the env local. Okay, I'm going to show how to do that, but ideally your AI has guided you on how to do this with your own project as well in your README. We're going to create a new file called .env.local. This should be the name of the file. It should be exactly that. We did dot before. Okay, don't forget this dot. And you should create a new file. You can create inside Cursor. You can create with Finder, with Explorer in your own computer. You should create a file with exactly this name in the root of your project, in the same folder as your package.json. In the same folder where you have the package.json, you should have your env.local. It should not be inside any of the other folders, okay? It should be in the root. And inside this folder, you are going to paste this line. Next public third web client ID with this placeholder, okay? This is not enough for the app to work yet, but it should at least go to the page and give an error. The error is that we don't have the connection yet, but at least the app should work after you do this. You should have the environment there, should have your client ID here. It should not work, but at least it should not work. I mean, it should not process this button, but at least you should be able to enter your app after doing that. Okay. So thank you, AI, for the explanation. It worked. I could set it up there. Okay, so at this point, you should have created a .env file, and you should have a placeholder there. To go forward, I'm going to open my third web dashboard. Third web is the same link as we had before in the docs, but you should go, let me log out and log in again. You should go for thirdweb.com. Okay, and start creating your account here, free account. Next week, we're going to use this a lot, but in this week, in today's session, I just want to introduce you to the tool so that we can have maximum speed next week, okay? So you should create an account here, log in. I'm going to use my email for that, but you could use MetaMask, you could use any wallet that you prefer. And with this email, I'm going to log in my team account for my company, Venture Miner. So it's going to use wallet integration here as well with my email, but that should work well. I just need to prove that I'm a human somehow by clicking this checkbox. This is what makes us human, right? Clicking checkbox the correct way is our major human trait. We are born for that. So now we click on try again. It should log me in. If you don't have an account, you can create that very quickly. You don't need to pay for it right now. Okay. Next week, you're going to cover account setup and up, but now just a free account should work. I want for you to go to that so you have everything ready for next week. Okay. So what should you do there? After you open your dashboard, even in the free plan, you should be able to create a new project with this button by giving it a project name and by configuring the allow list of domains. Okay. For now, we are going to create something that would allow all the domains. For now, later down the road, you should restrict it for your app only. But for now, it's going to allow all the domains. And I have created this test project already. I have it there. The only thing that I need is the client ID for now. So in the previous step, you have created this .env file and have placed this placeholder here. Now we're going to copy your client ID, create an account if you need to. I'm going to go slowly here. Should be able to create a free account, create a test project there, allow any source, any website to access your project, and then you copy the client ID. We don't need a secret for now, just the client ID, and then you paste here. Okay. You might want to paste the secret as well, or to save it somewhere later, because you cannot review the secret later. If you want, you can rotate it and have another secret, but once you create it, you won't have access to it anymore. Okay, for now we don't need it. It's not a big deal if you don't have it, but for later we are definitely going to need it in the project. So you might want to create an entry for that, or make notes of it. It's going to allow you to do actions inside of your account. Okay. So after I have my project ID here, which is public, you can see it, no worries. I should be able to refresh my app, and this button should work. I should be able to connect a wallet now. For example, MetaMask that I mentioned, should be able to connect it. I'm going to change to the network that I'm going to use for today. Let me start with Ethereum mainnet. That should be better. Okay, I'm going to connect it to the Ethereum mainnet. Okay. Ethereum mainnet. That should be, let me disconnect this. Disconnect this wallet. Didn't connect in the correct network. And you should go with it. For this camp, what blockchain we're going to use? So you might be asking, it's a surprise, right? What blockchain we are going to be using? Is this going to be mainnet? Are we going to deploy all of these transactions in Ethereum mainnet? Actually, we have a better idea. We have just completed the setup for us to use a wallet. It worked. Now that I've put my thirdweb client ID here, it worked. Now I can connect the whole Ethereum ecosystem, everything that is compatible with it. And of course, people, it's no surprise, we're going to use ApeChain for that. And instead of doing all of the setup directly in our project, integrating all of the lines of code as we have in this documentation, actually, this was the documentation that I was looking for. Brilliant. I had it open here all the time. So this would be the normal setup. For example, for you to install ethers manually, for you to install the dependencies, would be a step-by-step if you want to go the developer path. Instead of that, we're going to do it by integrating it through clicking through things. Okay. So what do you think of this idea, Alok? Using ApeChain for this project could be a good fit, right?
Absolutely.
Good. I'm going to ask you to go for docs.apechain.com, getting started with the ApeChain Hub. Okay, this is the link. Let me see how much time we have. We have 20 minutes. It should be good enough. So you're going to go for this documentation page, docs.apechain.com/metamask, and we are going to change, instead of using ETH mainnet as my account here, as my connection that I have. It's not chosen by thirdweb directly. It's the user interacting with the website that would define what would be the connection here. So instead of using Ethereum mainnet, that would be the default. If you open your MetaMask, you just install it there. We're going to do this tutorial for adding it to MetaMask, for integrating that with our website. Okay. We're going to dive further on that next week, integrating thirdweb, ApeChain, all the features. Again, I wanted to do it today so that you have your environment set up, so that you can test something with your public this week, and you are ready for next week without pulling off your hair, trying to figure out what is happening. You have everything set up there. Okay. So go through this documentation page, docs.apechain.com. You might be using ApeChain on mainnet already. I'm going to introduce you to the Testnet hub. Okay, navigate to the hub for Testnet, and we're going to use some interesting functions there. You're going to open the hub connected to Cortex Testnet, and you're going to click in this button, Add to Wallet. Please make sure that you are using a safe environment. Do not lose money in this camp. Let's try to go until the end of the camp with no one being hacked or losing money, okay? If you're using your wallet here, connection in your browser, make sure that you're using some that you don't have any mainnet balance at all, okay? Let me cancel this and just make sure that we are on the same page on this before we go forward. If I add ApeChain to my wallet in mainnet, I'm going to show that I have 0. Unless someone gifted me something while this session was going, I'm going to connect to ApeChain here, and I have 0 ape, as it should be, okay? Do not use your wallet if you have money in mainnet. Even if you think that you're doing all of the necessary protections, you can still click a wrong transaction. You can approve a transaction in testnet, and some people could copy that transaction or do some weird stuff with your wallet. So do not use your wallet for testnet, even if it's a different wallet with the same mnemonic or something like that. Create a new wallet with a new mnemonic. Okay, even if you create a new account there, but if you somehow still leak up your mnemonic, you can get hacked. So if you're using a browser where you have a wallet with money there, create a new wallet in another browser and go from there for this bootcamp, okay? That being said, returning to the normal programming, we're going to go for the hub for testnet, and you're going to click this button for you to add the testnet wallet there for your browser. I do have MetaMask installed. It's MetaMask Flask version, like kind of a hacky version for the developers. But this is going to be the flow. I'm going to click on Add Wallet. It's going to be the Curtis chain, the testnet for ApeChain. And here we're going to do real transactions with some quotes on the testnet and the public testnet, but with fake money. So real transaction with fake money, which is interesting. When you run a local node, you're running fake transactions with fake money, which can run locally, but you cannot share with your friends. Here, by using this testnet, this public testnet, we're going to do a real public blockchain maintained by ApeChain. But sorry about that. You're going to have my voice is fading. Sorry. We're going to have a public testnet maintained by ApeChain, but with fake money that you can get for free. It's not going to have monetary value, but you can use it for deploying your smart contracts. You can use it for all of your development needs. And this is what we're going to do. After you click this button to add a wallet, you are going to copy your wallet from MetaMask, from your provider. And I guess I have asked it some money before, but I'm going to click on this on it for copying this address. Sorry about that. Going back, so we're going to click on this button to copy the address, and I'm going to paste in this faucet tab the same hub for testnet. In mainnet, there's no faucet. I don't know, Alok, if you have a mainnet for faucet, but I guess it's not a good idea, right? So we're going to go for testnet. You're going to come here for faucet. You're going to verify that you are human by clicking a checkbox, the most human thing at all for you to do, and then you paste your wallet address there. You should be able to request some ape, fake money. You cannot buy things with it, but after a few seconds, 2-3 seconds maximum, it should reflect on your account. And here we have about $1 worth of ape here in this wallet. 2 ape, 2.00111 for some reason. Okay. So that should get you fun. Yes, Alec.
Yeah, I was saying that like for ApeChain, that's plenty. You can deploy as many contracts as you want.
Yeah, you can buy half of a country with this on blockchain terms. Yes, you can deploy a lot of smart contracts. You can do a lot of transactions. Okay,
Yeah, one ape is plenty.
maybe we should do a prize if someone ends up expanding more of one testnet ape in this bootcamp. I would personally gift you two testnet apes as a prize if you manage to do that. Okay, and I would uh, tap you in the back as well. Congratulations. So it should be plenty for you to do a lot of operations. It seems a small amount of money. First of all, it is displaying dollar value here, but it's not actually monetary value that you can pay people. It's in a test net. So anything that you can get for free, there's no scarcity. If there's no scarcity, there is no value. Don't expect you to be able to buy things in the test net, it's only for testing. But in the mainnet, everything that we're going to do in the testnet, later when you do that in the mainnet, it should work just exactly. They are mirrored. They should correlate one by one. Okay. So when I go back to my website, if I connect this here to the Ethereum of ApeChain, let me see if I find. I should enable that for the app itself. Yeah, it's in the default, but I should be able to force it through here. Let me disconnect that. Disconnect the wallet. Let me change here for ApeChain. It is using ApeChain, nice. So if I connect again, it should work. Let's see if it's going to pick the correct chain this time. Count this. Okay. Yes, connected. So now I have two Ape. I could also set it as default in thirdweb. For now, I'm just forcing it by disconnecting and connecting again. And then I have this amount of assets to use inside my application. I could even display this. I could now start the integration. Oh, to flip the coin, I need to pay 0001 ape. And if I get bananas, I get two apes back, 0002. And if I get ape, I get nothing. So I could start gaming this with smart contracts, with interactions, just by vibing. Even if I don't know the actual implementation, the solidity, and the wallet connection, and the SDK, even if I did not study all of that before, AI can guide us. And as you can see here from the previous attempt, AI cannot replace yet. Developers might never be able to, or might take decades for that to happen. So you still need to go through the documentation, you still need to go through lessons like this. But eventually, you might have these features at least ready for you to go to market to test them with your ICPs, with your target public, and this should be good enough for this week. If you finish today's session, and if you start vibing your product on top of it, on top of thirdweb, just make sure to add thirdweb as a context with the LLMS, okay, in the IDE. You should be good for this week. Next week, we dive deeper with more advanced features. But today, you have your environment set up, you migrated from V0 with GitHub to your local environment, you installed Node, you could set all the configurations for thirdweb, you connected to ApeChain, you got some testnet tokens from the faucet. Now you should be ready to go for this week, going to market with your first clients, with your first users, maybe not paying clients yet, but your first users, to show them something working as a prototype. Okay. So let's see if I got those steroid questions here. You want to go for some of those first, Alok? We have about 10 minutes for that. Or
Yeah,
if you want, I can start with them.
I was just going over the default network set in thirdweb. I think that would be the testnet for Ethereum, which would be Holsky, I don't know how to pronounce it, or Sepolia, which is like more, let's say, more I think, more widely used, and it's not deprecated yet, if I'm not mistaken. But could be one of the two.
Yeah, for all of those setups, next week we're going to have a deep dive with thirdweb, all the configurations and all, and then with ApeChain after. But for now, this should be enough. So any kind of configuration like that, I'm going to pick this question. So should we always save it somewhere, the code and the environment? Should we completely save where we save the secrets? So let me share my screen again. So for today, so far what we did, let me share my whole screen. With the integration with ApeChain and with the integration with thirdweb, with ApeChain, creating that local, the public testnet connection and the app here in localhost should be safe. Unless you have money in that wallet, you did not expose anything critical today. We did this .env local here, should be okay. Just pay attention one thing. When you are here on the version control, make sure that you don't end up committing. When you commit all of your files, don't commit the .env.local or any .env. It should be present in this file called gitignore, which is going to ignore all of those files, which is good, but not always AI makes this correctly. So make sure when you are committing, you don't have this exposed, okay? And if you want to save this, so my first vibe coded iteration. My first vibe coded iteration. So you create a message, click on commit, it's going to be saved to your GitHub. You sync the changes, you go there for a GitHub repository. You can even pull that now on V0, it should work if you put the environment there. This is a great question, okay? We got a question as well.
Yeah.
Here, let me go through those.
Before we go that, I just want to go over a little bit of context of what the env file does. It's actually those keys are for the developer. So its private keys are for your wallet. It has those testnet funds, etc. It would be what you would use to deploy the contract. But then the other keys like thirdweb or your pinata keys or any other keys, those keys are the ones that are unique to your user. If they get leaked, it's essentially someone else could use those keys to replicate you as a user. So because for example, you're using thirdweb, you're not logging in, right? You actually just have that a long code, and that code is unique to your user. It is paired with your tier, your billing, your access, everything is paired to that one key. So that's why it's so sensitive. And that's what your env is essentially your environment, and that's where you put all those variables. Also, in some cases, I think, so that's going back to that previous question, where to save them. In some cases, you will only be able to copy your a secret or API key just once, and then you would not be able to retrieve it. I think that's what the question was. What in some cases you would only be able to view your key once, and then once you close it, even you can go into a dashboard and you would not be able to see them. So what do you do in that case?
Yeah. Do you have any examples, Alok, of a private .env that we could see, and just to see how it works, maybe with a
Just for
private key there?
example, I know that on Coinbase developer platform, the toolkits, so some of the API keys are only visible once. So that's just for example.
Yeah. Oh, yes, joking aside, but you answered very well, straight to the point, because, for example, thirdweb, we only can view the circuit owns as well. I was demonstrating my screen. So this is good practice, but don't rely solely on that. I would still
Yes.
suggest creating a separate development environment. And when you want to deploy things to production, then you do that carefully. Don't vibe code your content to production, please. For all the secret bananas out there, don't do that. Seek help with professionals, with guidance and all, because then things can get messy. You should have scripts, you should have environment file well set up, well protected, encrypted, and all of that.
Yeah. What was the other question? set for integration to use ApeChain as the default. Yeah, so there would be somewhere there would be the configuration of what networks to use. I think so if in this case, I think if you're using hard hat, there would be hard hat configs or something. Like in that configuration file, essentially, you're going to define which networks you're going to use. So in this case, like for example, what we saw that was Curtis. Curtis is our testnet. And then once we go into production, you're going to use ApeChain mainnet live. And you would just essentially change the chain ID and the RPC provider. And that's all you're changing, but essentially that's how you connect to the network. We won't go down too much into how the nodes work, how do they talk, how do you actually connect with the whole network, RPCs and all of that. Like that's its own like world. But the easy way is you just get the endpoint, and that's how you actually use to connect to the network.
Yeah. For now, your objective is to put this prototype in the hand of some people for them to test, a wallet connection, something like that. So it shouldn't be much of a concern what chain you're using for now. But next week, when we start deploying these smart contracts and use them directly, then it's going to be super, super relevant.
Yep. Let's just say anything else. Okay.
So this is a good summary for today. So should be picking your project like this weekend, homework or something that you tried last week, starting from fresh with your ideas. Today I went very fast, and it is 2 hours of session, yes, but we went fast or something. So you would spend more time with prompting, with thought, and what you want to do, and then build on top of that. Okay, that's going to be the feels of it for the next 2-3 weeks or so.
Yeah, and going back to thirdweb, there were some questions around it. thirdweb have been quite generous to give our bootcamp attendees their starter plan. So even with the free plan, you can do a bunch of things. I mean, but if you're looking at growth and scaling, the starter plan would be more than enough. But the condition is you have to submit your homeworks. It's not for everyone. So as long as you are on track, it also helps us actually understand the usage and like help you support more.
That's great. So for this Thursday, would you have a session planned for go to market? We I'll look back again. We have PP for this Thursday, right? So it's going to be a great opportunity for learning from the best on that. And by this weekend, you should have a prototype, vibe coded prototype like we did today, and put that at the hand of some people for them to give you feedback on your product.
Yep. I don't see any other questions.
We're good to go. Thank you very much for participating. I hope that you enjoyed today's session. 2 hours of pure vibe coding, going from basics to starting your prototype on your own environment. I'm eager to see all the cool stuff they're going to be this week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.